Ladies and gentlemen and friends, those of you joining us here in person and streaming through the internet, at this time we are going to begin the funeral service for Nancy R Borenstein. If you have a cell phone or a pager, I would ask for you to please take a moment to turn it off or make sure it's in the silent mode. And officiating today's services will be Rabbi Lisa Bellows from Congregation Beth Am in Buffalo Grove.
We would rather be anywhere but here for this reason. But we use the strength that Nancy gave to us to show up to this moment that is so painful. Our hearts are broken. And today we come to celebrate Nancy's life and also to say goodbye. For Nancy's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more we give thanks. The Borenstein family knows what it means to grieve. When we are in a state of mourning, perhaps we receive a measure of comfort from family and from friends. And also maybe even the words of our psalmist, King David. King David was a man who wrote about issues of life and of loss, and also of faith. You have the 23rd Psalm in the inside cover of your leaflet. I'll offer this psalm in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And in the book of Ecclesiastes, we read that there is a time to keep silent and a time to speak, and to speak words from their hearts. I'll invite in this order, although they'll come one at a time, forward. Nancy's husband, David. Nancy's friend, Colleen. Her son, Josh, and daughter-in-law, Luba, and her son, Zach. David.
And my wife's maiden name was Rosenberg, and many of her friends called her Rosie. And when we got married, I just when going out with her, I came up with the name Rosebud, because that's like when a rose is becoming a rose. It's when they become fresh. And she was always so fresh, and she was always so amazing to be with. And it was hard for me to come up with any type of speech, because I could only start this morning, because how do you capsulize 38 years of marriage, 38 years of wonderful marriage, and some time before that. So I tried to pick out some things that I thought were kind of funny and meaningful. So on our first date, I was going out with this immigration lawyer named Sharon. So my friend John says, "Hey Dave, I got this really nice Jewish girl for you to go out with. Why don't you go out with her?" But of course, me being the space head that I am, I lost her number 3 times. The 4th time I got it, and I called her, and she was like, "Well, I've been waiting for your call." So we go out, and now, going out with 2 girls at the same time was too much for me. That's too complicated. So I thought, I'll just do John a favor, and I'll go out with this girl. So she was only 2 blocks from where I lived on Sheridan Road in Lincoln Park, and we go out, and we go to this restaurant on Diversity Avenue called the Kasbah, Middle Eastern food. And she said it's too spicy for me. I can't eat this. And I said, "Okay, John said you like to talk. I'll eat your food. You go ahead and talk." I mean, I was so obnoxious. And she did, and she talked my head off. I mean, she just talked, and she charmed me. I mean, what can I say? So afterwards, I felt bad, and we went and got some ice cream. And then I took her back to her apartment, and she lived on the 16th floor. And I say goodbye, and I get to the elevator, and she goes, "Hey," and she pokes her head out at the door, and she goes, "That wasn't so bad after all, was it?" So I think she kind of had my number, and my daughter-in-law had that picture blown up of my wife at my son Zach's wedding, and the big picture, and there she is, and she was actually in a lot of pain that day, and she put on a back brace. Could you tell? Could you know? No. She was so happy to be there for the wedding. It was such an important day, and that picture captures my wife, captures the love that she had for life, captures the love that she had for the people that she was with. And on our second date, we went for a bike ride in Lincoln Park. I had her ride first, not because I didn't know where I was going, because I wanted to look at her tush. And then when the bike ride was over, I said, "Hey," I called my mom. Of course, there's no cell phones. I said, "I'm going to bring a girl over for a bite to eat." She said, "Okay." So this is on our second date. I brought her home to my mom, and of course, my mom thought she was as amazing as I did. To see Nancy at first, it was like, what you see is what you get, and there's no tricks here. And I think by the second date, I was almost toast. I remember I used to go to my daughter's, Katie's dance recitals, and the teacher would say, "That's a keeper." I think I knew that Nancy was a keeper. A third date, basically, I was toast. It was October 1981. It was Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Jewish religion. And Nancy and I decided to go to Starved Rock Park. And the last little picture over there at the end is her sitting there on a railing at Starved Rock Park. And when I got the pictures back, I kept on looking at that picture, and I said, "I love this girl. I have to marry her." And I did. And it was obviously the greatest decision I ever made in my life. I suppose I made lots of bad decisions, but the most important decision I ever made was the right decision. So I know my kids don't think that we had a life before we had kids, but we did. I remember She was roller skating in Lincoln Park with her friend Pee Pee, and she was called Pee Pee because her maiden name was Pamela Patrick. And she was a very good friend from college, Bradley, that Nancy had. But Nancy, these are not rollerblades, these are the old roller skates. And she fell in Lincoln Park and she sprained her ankle. So we're going to Park West that night. You know, it's a small little theater, so it's 600 people. And I said, come on. You'll like this. You'll like this concert. Oh, David, I really don't feel that good. I said, you'll like this concert. So we get there, and this guy walks on stage, black pants, black leather jacket, black hair combed back, black sunglasses. And she goes, I can't believe you brought me to see this guy. Who is this guy? Look at this guy. He looks so freaky. And then he starts singing, and I look over at her, and her voice is open, and it's like she's got this stunned look on her. And he got done singing his first song. She goes, that's the most beautiful song I've ever heard. I never heard a voice like that. It was Roy Orbison. And then, of course, nobody would let him leave until he sang Pretty Woman twice at the end, you know, his huge hit. He was fantastic. And after that, we went to a lot of concerts, and we had great times, great fun. She loved music. And before we were married, we took a secret trip to the Ozarks, just like I'm sure a lot of you did. But you didn't tell your parents or parents-in-law because, you know, you didn't want to get them upset. So I remember we're walking through these grounds of what used to be a mansion in the Ozarks. She screams out, David, watch out, there's a rattlesnake. And she was right. I would have stepped on the rattlesnake. And so I jumped. Michael Jordan would have been proud of me. My vertical leap must have been 45 inches. And then I started running, and then I realized, I looked back, I said, Rosebud, the snake's still there. And she says, well, I'm just going to go around it. And so she just walked around it, and it was a great trip. And I remember we took a boat ride somewhere, and it started storming and raining. And I'm not a very good pilot, but somehow I piloted it back to the same place that we left. I don't understand how I did that, but I did that, you know. And she said, wow, that was really amazing. I said, no, it's really nothing. And it was just such luck. It's such luck. But I never told her that it was just total luck, but it was. And before we were married, you know, I didn't tell her everything about me. When I grew up in the 60s, you know, in 7th grade, other people would shoot baskets. I had slap fights. When I got to high school, other people shot baskets. We had body punching contests. Other people went to intramurals. I went to the Evanston YMCA and hit the heavy bag. So, I mean, let's face it, I graduated Evanston High School because they wanted to get rid of me. And so, and it's not like I got in fights that just because to get in fights. My dad had polio, so I was aware of living with a disabled dad. My dad never complained in his entire life that he couldn't walk, but I was aware that he was disabled. So before there was Denzel, before there was The Equalizer, there was me. In high school and college, I took care of business that needed to be taken care of, especially with my friend Alfie sitting over there. And half the time the fight was over because Al started laughing before the fight would begin, and the other person would be thinking, what's he laughing about? You know, and that happens sometimes. And so we went to this engagement party that Al had for us at Market Square, which unfortunately is closed now. And there was about 20, 25 people there. We're all sitting around, and Al has already told everybody, don't talk about any of David's fights. No fights. No. So Nancy's sitting there, my Rosebud, and she's telling everybody, David is just the nicest, most gentle person I've ever met in my life. And, Dave? That one sitting over there? You're Dave? Are you sure? You know, and everybody was in on it. And so then after we're married a couple of months, we're laying in bed, and I told her about a few fights, and she goes, I wouldn't have gone out with you if I knew that. And I said, well, that's why I never told you. I mean, I had dumb moments, but I wasn't that stupid. So she was fiercely protective of our kids when they had to be. One time, Zach was playing, the ball you play after the T-ball, Pinto, whatever it is, and the coach promised Zach that he was going to pitch. The coach was from the north side of Buffalo Grove, so all the north side kids seemed to get to play. And so all of a sudden, I see Zach come back, and he's walking back, and his head's down. I said, "What's the matter, son?" And he goes, he said I was going to pitch, and I'm not going to pitch. And he's crying, and I got a little upset. And I was grabbing this metal fence. I think I actually bent it because I had the rust in my fingers. And I screamed out at this guy. I said, "You said my son was going to pitch." He goes, "No, I didn't." In front of everybody. I mean, it was pretty embarrassing. But I said, "You're an effing liar." I said, "No, he's going to pitch now." And of course, Zach pitched. So then I get back, and I think Nancy's going to be impressed. So Rosebud, I said, "Rosebud, what do you think about that?" She goes, "Well, I wouldn't have expected less." So she was protective, and she put up with some of my nonsense. And she used to say, she'd be talking to her friends on the phone, "I thought when I had Katie, I was done with having children. That would have been the last children. But lo and behold, I found out I actually have 4 children because David is the biggest child of all." And I used to hear that, and at first I got upset, and then I realized, well, that's really kind of a compliment. And I loved it. And I suppose an example was, I'm taking Zach to Hebrew school one day, and he goes, "Dad, do I have to go?" I said, "Okay, here's the deal." I said, "We'll play oldies but goodies on the station, and if you get the name of the group or the name of the song, you don't have to go into Hebrew class." So Zach was on a roll for like 40 minutes or 45 minutes. He didn't miss. And finally he missed. I said, "Dad, what do I have?" I said, "Here's an orange crayon. Here, take this with you." So then, the next day I come home and I hear, "David." And I knew I'm in trouble. I mean, that's it. So I go see her. She goes, "Well, I thought you would have got to Hebrew school on time. What's the problem?" The Hebrew school teacher called and said, "Zach got there with 15 minutes left and he had an orange crayon." He goes, "How do you explain that?" I said, "Rosebud, you can't flunk Hebrew school." Which is, it's true, Rabbi. You can't flunk Hebrew school. because Josh did a joint one, and the person that he was with didn't practice and was terrible, so the rabbi filled in for him, and Josh did the rest. So that was my answer to my irresponsible. She put up, let's face it, I was the irresponsible play dad, and she was the responsible mom. And basically she let me be that way. And, after we had gotten married, she worked part-time at Stevenson as a hall director for all the kids that would sit in class. And the administration, and she worked there for over 10 years, could never understand why she was so popular. She was very, very, very popular. And she was very popular because, it was an Old Testament feeling that she had. Respect's a two-way street. And if the kids were respectful, she was respectful of them. If somebody had to go to the bathroom, you get to go to the bathroom if you come back, And I don't know how many times the administration couldn't believe that she had such high scores and she was so popular. And she was so popular just because she was who she was. Now, I told her a couple years after we were married, I said in my incredibly powerful, masculine, lawyer-like tone, I said, "Rosebud, as long as we're married, we're never, never, never going to have a cat. You understand?" She says, "Yeah, sure, okay." 2 weeks later, we had our first cat. And her name was Killy. She was a calico. And she really became my cat because I was doing felony review at the time. So it was 3 days on, 3 days off. And we had got Killy from my cousin Danny, who lived in Chicago at the time. And he had 3 Siamese cats himself, so he couldn't really take this cat. And 2 months later, Danny calls me and said these 2 guys got evicted from their apartment, and they left their cat Frank. Frank was this black Burmese cat, weighed about 13 pounds, had blazing yellow eyes. Was a hunter. I mean, he was a 13-pound apex hunter for birds and for mice and stuff. So these people left him in the apartment. What does he do? He jumps off the 2nd floor and hunts. So I found him on one day while it was raining, and I saw him running underneath a car. And then I got him, and I took him to the vets to make sure that, he didn't have any diseases or anything. And I brought him back to the house, and Nancy, Rosebud said, oh, he's so scary looking. And, oh, I don't know about him. And Frank was so scared, and he was sitting. I put him on this chair, and he was sitting there shaking. And Rosebud says, what are we going to do? And I said, sing to him. She had a beautiful soprano voice. It was just beautiful. And the kids always teased her because her voice was so soft. And I said, if you magnified her voice, you'd see how beautiful it was. So she starts singing to Frank. By the time she got to the 3rd song, he was in her lap. And he wouldn't leave. And that was the time that she got pregnant with Josh. And she was walking home from Chicago. And I guess there was too much walking. There's 5 miles every day at a good clip. And then the doctor said, no, you're going to have to stay home with the fetal monitor. The fetal monitor was terrible because every time we went to Lamaze class, the fetal monitor started going beep, 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 because she'd get nervous. So that's how we got cats, because of cousin Danny and Frank. And ever since we got Frank and Killy, we've had cats for 35 years. I've got cats to take care of, and she would expect me to do a great job, and I will. She was a great wife. She was a great friend. She was a great mother. Her good friend Roseanne said, she texted me and said, Nancy was the kindest, most loving person I've ever known. Everyone who knew her loved her. She was the best. And her friend Pee texted me, among other things, said she was a wonderful wife, mother, and friend, always happy and laughing, even if she didn't feel good. And if you see that big picture of her there smiling, that was on Zach's wedding night, and there she was. And I remember before she went, her back had been bothering her. She put her back brace on, but you couldn't tell she was in any pain in that picture. If you look at her, how much fun she was having. What a smile she had. She was so beautiful. And our life was pretty darn good. Then in 2014, we lost our daughter. She had a pulmonary embolism. And Rosebud's health, immune system was never the same. The grief never leaves. And she had a broken pelvis. She broke her back. She had surgery on her feet. She was in pain all the time. And, that's the type of grief, depression that stays with you. You can deal with it, but it's always going to be there. And last summer, I got sick. I had something called discitis. I had double back surgery. I was in a nursing home for 6 weeks. And I couldn't wait to get home. And I kept on playing the Beatles song from Rubber Soul, Wait. It's been a long time, now I'm coming back home. And I kept on playing it all the time because I missed her so much. So I played that every day. And I arrived home to find out that she had multiple myeloma. She had bone cancer. So she started getting treatment at Northwest Community Hospital it wasn't working. Some doctors are ethical, some aren't, just like some lawyers are good, some aren't. They knew it wasn't working. They wouldn't tell her that there was some other treatment. So we did research and found out that she was a candidate for stem cell removal. It was their own stem cells that they take, and then they get to put back after she goes through a period. But the problem is, and the danger is that when you take the stem cells, you don't have any white blood cells, so your immune system is in flux. And it was either last Sunday or around that time, Rosebud got sick. I also called her Petal. I suppose that was short for Rosebud, not that short, but she got sick. She had, apparently she had a stomach infection, intestinal infection, and she had what was probably a massive stroke. And she was intubated. She had lung damage. She had tubes and wires everywhere. She was on 4 different blood pressure medications. She was on dialysis. She was in a terrible amount of pain. And Monday, last month, she seemed to make a comeback. I was there with Zach at Northwestern. She moved her right arm. She could squeeze her fingers. And we thought, wow, she's making a comeback. Nancy's going to be back. But that was the best she could do. Then Tuesday, she didn't have that awareness. And you could see that she was in a lot of pain. And then Wednesday, she was worse. And, Wednesday, a specialist came in, and he told Zach and I, he said, if Nancy is to live, she will require 24-hour nursing care. She'd have to be on dialysis. She'll have to have a tracheal tube. She'll have to be on dialysis. And she would never leave the nursing home. She had damaged lungs. And, we had discussed extraordinary measures to be kept alive. She didn't want that, and I didn't want that. It's still a terrible decision to have to make. To say, take the tubes away from my wife and let her die naturally. I knew she would never leave the nursing home. I knew she would never see her garden again. She would never hold her cats. She would never speak orally to her friends. She had a great group of friends. They're in the picture over there. She had a support group. She had Colleen Zalaki, and she had Nancy Parker, and she had Beth Bussey, and Ellen Kander. Sorry, Ellen. And they were such terrific friends, and they were there with her all the time. And I see our early neighbors here, Pam and Paul Myers and Brandon Myers, who's a reverend at a church in Niles, probably the finest young man I've ever known. And so Zach heard everything the doctor had to say. She would never be able to hold her cats, never see her garden, never speak to her friends like she did, never have supper with her support group. And she was looking forward so much to seeing a new granddaughter. And she was looking forward to so much to recovering and having a life, and looking out at her yard and her garden. Before, when I was trying to think of what to say, and I'm sorry if I've been rambling, it's one of those strange days. And at approximately 11 o'clock this morning, let's see, I forgot I turned off my phone. I got a text to my good friend Jim Glasgow from Joliet. And let's see here, this comes on here. I'd like to read what Jim said in a moment. This is what she said. This is what he said. Dave, words at this time are of little comfort to you and your sons. However, very few people are ever fortunate enough to have a soulmate like your Rosebud. She would want you to find strength in your memories of the wonderful life you had with each other. She would want you to be strong so you can take care of the two amazing sons that are here because of the extraordinary love that you and Rosebud shared. Easier said than done, but when you close your eyes and think of her, it will take you to a wonderful place that belongs only to you and your Rosebud. Jim. It was a wonderful message, and it kind of goes in with the message that I got from Pee-Pee, and the message I got from another one of her friends. Let's see. Roseanne said, oh, I said that, I'm sorry. And Pee-Pee said that she was a wonderful person. She was my sun, she was my moon, she was my stars, she was my everything. She was my Rosebud, she was my petal. There'll never be another person like her again. Thank you.
Colleen.
Nancy had a lot of friends, as you know, a lot. And David had called me and asked if I would share today about one little group of friends of hers. We were a small group of moms. We had all known Nancy at different times. One of us, when their kids were in preschool, and then some of us in grammar school and on up. There was so much I wanted to tell you about our friendship. It was so special. Anyone who was a friend of Nancy, anyone, they too know how good it was to be a friend of hers. I wrote a little poem, and I'm afraid it truly does not come close to tell you everything about our friendship. But hopefully it gives you an idea of what our dear Nancy meant to us. Nancy, oh Nancy, our beloved friend Nancy, oh how we do miss you, dear. We prayed and we prayed for you to return, but God whispered, come home in your ear. So here we all are, gathered to celebrate you, to tell stories and laugh, and maybe cry a bit too. Nancy, oh Nancy, how do I start? How do I tell everyone how you affected our hearts? I guess I would tell them it was 2014 that we first got together and we started our team. We shared our life stories, and you shared yours too. We learned of your life and all you'd been through. The stories you told us at that table we shared were of friends and of family, some of love, some of despair. Nancy, oh Nancy, you're the reason we formed. We wanted to help you in any way as you mourned. We hope that you trusted in our words as you grieved for the daughter you lost, something we could not even conceive. Sometimes in a friendship, we don't always say how much we mean to each other in our words or kind ways. But Nancy, oh Nancy, you did this each time. You always told us you loved us, your words spoken so kind. You called us my girls and told us time and again how we made you feel special and loved as a friend. You'd arrive at our dinner with a flower or gift for each of us ladies. Oh, how our hearts you did lift. We knew that January and February too held dates, anniversaries that brought sadness to you. So we would not meet those weeks. We would give you your space, and we prayed that our Lord would bestow upon you some grace. But then every year, as the winter would pass, we'd hear of your plans, of your flowers in mass. Oh yes, every spring brought the return of your glow, as you planted your flowers in their pots and their rows. Nancy, oh Nancy, your creations of color brought such joy to who saw it. Your garden was like no other. You brought that same beauty of freshness and life. In your words, in your deeds, you made things so right. Like if one of us had a grandchild born, there you were with a gift, knocking on our front door. And when we were the one whose loved one had died, your shoulders were there to hold on to and cry. Friends and family were not the only ones you cared for like that. Anyone who knew you knew your love for your cats. My kitties, you call them, they brought you such joy, whether snuggly or grumpy, whether a girl or a boy. When the pandemic started and we were stuck in our rooms, that didn't stop us. We just turned on our Zoom. Nancy, oh Nancy, do you remember that day when you told us you had news, that you had something to say? Oh my, how you beamed, your face such a glow. You said that your grandchild would be wearing a bow. You told us you wanted to dress her in lace, to hold her so close, to kiss her sweet face. That was your plan, your hope and your dream. You told us again and again, oh, how we could picture that scene. We did not expect to hear the news about you. We did not expect to hear your days would be few. Your family was with you and kept in close touch. We asked them to tell you how we loved you so much. Did you hear your Zach whisper to you into your ear that we friends do so love you and hold you so dear? Then the message came through that you had said your goodbye, that you'd passed on in peace, your soul raised up to the sky. How hard for you, Nancy, to leave your husband and sons, to say goodbye to this world, to say, I'm tired, I'm done. Now we your friends mourn, and how we will miss the hug of your arms, and on our cheeks your sweet kiss. We talk on the phone every day since you've passed. Why did this happen, is the question we ask. Then Nancy, oh Nancy, we calm ourselves down. We open our hearts, and we hear a sweet sound. We hear the sound of your voice. Tell us, please dry our tears. We can feel you with us. We can feel you are near. You continue to whisper. Your words are so sweet. They bring us each day some hope and some peace. So folks, you all know our Nancy, and we'd like to relay what we hear our dear Nancy whisper to us and say. Oh, my girls, don't be sad. Don't feel angry or low, but be happy for me. I'm with my dear Katie Rose.
Thank you for that poem, Mrs. Zalaki. I'm going to read a poem too. I didn't write it. This is a poem about when you're a kid, all the things that your mom does for you, you don't really appreciate it, until you get older and you're an adult. It's called The Lanyard by Billy Collins. The other day, I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly, a past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift from my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one, if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light and taught me to walk and swim. And I, in turn, present her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education, and here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones, and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift, not the archaic truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. Okay. And now I'm going to tell you a story, and it'll make sense at the end, because all the best stories do. So we had this cat, and her name was Angie. We also called her Angela, Angie Pangie, the Pangerino. In my family, if you're not giving your cats nicknames, you're not really trying. And she had about as many nicknames as cats have, like 9 lives. And she used actually a few of those 9 lives. She was lost for, I think, like 2 weeks one time. And then she was lost again, not as long, but she found her way back home. We were very relieved each time. And then she was also hit by a baseball bat one time. I'm not going to name names on that. But most seriously, though, she was actually hit by a car. And I saw it, and it was, it was horrible. And she was in very bad shape, like really bad shape. She had lost her sense of smell. And when that happens, you lose your appetite. So she was getting weaker, and we didn't know what we were going to do, if we were going to have to put her to sleep or not. So what my mom decided to do was she was going to try to get her sense of smell back. So she would create a steam room to try and open up Angie's nasal passages. So she would bring Angie into the bathroom. She'd turn on the shower as hot as it would go, and she would close the door and put towels under the door so that the steam couldn't escape the room. And but then we kind of quickly realized that that wasn't really enough, because hot air rises to the top. So Angie just being in the bathroom wasn't enough, because she's a tiny little thing on the floor. It wasn't going to do it. So my mom brought in this like cat cushion that we had, and she put Angie in it, and then she would just hold her up as high as she could and for as long as she could, and then we would take turns doing this, my mom and I. When one of us got tired, the other would take over. And so when I said earlier we had a cat named Angie, I was actually lying. We still have Angie because it worked. My mom saved Angie's life. And maybe it worked too well, because she won't stop eating now. But yeah, my mom saved her because she cared about her. So she cared for her. And that's what she's always done for my family. She cared about all of us. So she cared for all of us. And if she loved you, she was never going to give up on you. And everybody in this room who knows her knows that's true. She was never going to give up on you. And that's because that's the person that she was, and that's the mother that she was. And that's how I'm always going to remember her. So.
I wish I could put into words how grateful I really am for the relationship I had with Nancy. I think we were abnormally close for being mother and daughter-in-law. Nancy accepted me for all that I am. I am not a super soft, warm, and fuzzy kind of gal, and she was the opposite, cute, sweet, and warm. I would tell a story or just be talking about something and throw out multiple F-bombs, and her response was, "Oh, honey," or "Oh, sweetie," with her little giggle. She didn't care that I was loud and ridiculous, and I loved that. As we all know, Nancy loved to talk, and my favorite thing to do was call her on my way home from work, which was about a 40-minute commute. Her and I would talk on the phone all the way until I got home, even though sometimes she was coming over for dinner in just an hour. If I didn't see her for 4 days or talk on the phone for a few days, when I did see her or speak to her, she would always tell me, "Sweetie, I'm so happy to see you. It's been so long." And I would remind her, "Honey, it's only been a few days." And she would always respond with, "Oh, I just missed you." How lucky was I to have her miss and love me so much. Nancy also loved to shop. She was always buying me little gifts and big gifts, and I would tell her that I really didn't need all of that, and her response was always, "You're my girl now. I like buying you things." And hearing those words come from her, knowing the heartache she has been through, always meant so much to me. She also bought my little sisters gifts for every occasion, birthdays, Halloween, Valentine's Day, any Hallmark holiday, or just because. But that was just so her. She adored my little sisters, and I'm so happy they got to be a part of her life and bring her so much joy. I know she was so excited to be a grandma to our sweet girl this summer. She started shopping for her and buying her things, and I wish we had more of it from her. I have an app that tracks what size fruit or vegetable the baby is, and every week I got a call or text. How's our baby cucumber doing? Or how's our baby avocado this week? She loved feeling my belly and telling me all about her pregnancies. She was bedridden with Josh. Zach came out looking like he got punched in the face 10 times, and Katie came out perfect. She was so happy and excited for this next chapter of our lives, and my heart aches that I can't share the rest of this experience with her. I'll end with just saying how much I loved her and our relationship, and that I was so lucky to have someone so supportive and caring in my life these last 7 years. I'm forever grateful to her for raising the most amazing, thoughtful, and caring son that I get to spend the rest of my life with. She would be so proud of the husband that he is, and the father she always knew he would be.
First of all, I want to thank anyone who sent all these flowers. They're beautiful. I know my mom would love them. And Colleen, I will need a copy of that poem. That was incredible. I just want to state ahead of time, this speech is pretty long, so I'm sorry for that, but I just, once I started writing stuff down, I just couldn't really stop, so. I wrote a few drafts in the last few days, trying to come up with the perfect speech, the perfect words to try to show everyone how much my mom meant to me, how much I love her. And I realized that there just aren't enough words to fully express how I feel. I could write it 100 different ways, and each one would always seem to fall short. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been grieving. I felt anger, sad, detached, stuck, shock, and pain. But what is grief if not love persevering? And that's what I want you all to take away from what I say today, is just how much I love my mom. But how do you write down or remember 30 years of memories in just a few days? It's impossible. I can talk summer vacations as a kid, and she would let me stay up all night watching the Cosby Marathon with her. I could have been downstairs with my brother or my dad watching TV or hanging out with them, but I chose to be with my mom watching TV with her. Taking baths as a kid, asking Mom, will you keep me company? And no matter how busy she was or how tired she was, she always would. I can talk about making her throw me batting practice if Dad wasn't home. I'd swing maybe 10 times if she threw the ball 50, but it didn't bother me that I didn't get any good work in because I just loved spending time with my mom. Taking me shopping to those obnoxious Abercrombie & Fitch stores where she would buy me overpriced clothes that looked so stupid, but it made me happy. Crying in her arms after my first real heartbreak. Watching my BG baseball games and telling me I suck if I got out, and actually telling Evan that he sucked too if he got out, which I don't know was worse for me or him or my brother or my dad who were sitting next to the Canders. Packing me up for college, saying goodbye for the first time, always seemingly me having to help her figure out her phone or Facebook or emails or TV. Each time I would stop by the house without telling her I was coming over and walk up to her room and see her sitting in bed and always saying, oh, hi, sweetie, I didn't know you were stopping by. What a nice surprise. Thanksgiving at Grandma's all those years, and I actually have a great story that really depicts my grandma and my mom. This is like 5-6 years ago, and we always used to be so amazed at how my grandma was so fit and so just kick-ass still. She was in her upper 80s at this time. And she, every morning she'd wake up and she'd do 3 or 4 sets of pull-ups sets of 2. She would do 4 sets of 2 pull-ups was her routine, and it's just incredible. There's a lot of people here that can't do a pull-up, and my grandma was doing pull-ups. I said, Grandma, you do 4 sets of 2. I said, well, what if you just did 1 set? Could you do 3? And she said, I don't know. Maybe I could do 3. I said, Grandma, you could definitely do 3. I said, okay. Grandma, what about 4? And she goes, no, I couldn't do 4. That's too much. And I said, but you do 4 sets of 2. Just if one, I can't do 4. I said, Grandma, if my life depended on it, could you do 4 pull-ups? And she paused and she said, I could do 4 pull-ups. And I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, if my life depended on it, could you do a pull-up? And she goes, oh, sweetie, I love you, but I think we'd have to say goodbye. And that's just so her. I could talk about her helping me pick out an engagement ring, how helpful she was with that, house shopping with us, and although cut short in our new home when she always talked about how much she loved so much, just having dinners and hanging out with her. And most recently, having my dad and her over. We ordered Olive Garden, which was one of her favorite places to eat from. And I set up the TV downstairs for my dad so he could catch up on some WandaVision. And rather than watch it with him down there, I chose to come upstairs and just sit with my mom for a couple hours. And I couldn't tell you what was on TV or what we talked about, but we just sat there for 2 hours and we just talked. And I think the best part about it was we both equally loved spending time together just as much. But aside from any memory or story I could talk about, I really just want to say to her how much I appreciate everything she did, how grateful I am that I had her as my mom. Every meal ever cooked, dish washed, school lunch packed, dropped off, picked up, sports game cheered at, clothes and shoes bought, confusing homework assignments she had to do with me, projects stayed up till midnight the night before it was due working on, every load of laundry washed, dried, and folded, money borrowed for food, movies, or anything else, every text, every picture sent, and all the updates of all the cats, every FaceTime or phone call that never seemed to end. The conversation would usually seem like it was about to end, and then she would stop and say, well, what else do I know? And I knew that we weren't done. The list never ends, but more than anything, how much she loved and cared for me. I will never have another conversation with my mom again. She will never hold my daughter or any future kids we may have. Watch them run to her, screaming, Grandma, Grandma. I won't see her smile, or I won't hear her laugh. I'll never get to hug her, squeeze her in my arms again. Nearly 31 years, and that's what I get. I'm grateful for the time, but it's never enough. Life is precious, every day, every night, every moment. So to anyone who's still fortunate enough to have their mom, call her just because. Stop by the house for no reason. Tell her you love her. In the middle of the day, and hug her just a little bit longer and squeeze her just a little bit tighter. Because one day you won't be able to. And no matter how many times you did those things, it still won't be enough. I would write my mom text messages starting a couple weeks ago. After we heard how serious her situation was, we thought we might have to say goodbye to her on a Saturday night, only to return Sunday morning to see that she had improved. She started making strides, and it gave us all hope. Hope is very dangerous. But I thought, when my mom gets out of here, whether it's 5 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, she'll have all these text messages from me to read from each day, so she won't feel like she's missed any time. She'll be caught up on everything. And I think sharing these messages with you guys best describes and explains the relationship I had with my mom. Hi, Mom. Just had a nice visit with you today. It's Sunday afternoon, March 21st. They wouldn't let Luba and Dad up today, so I came in and then Josh. We are all here with you. We wish we could all be with you every day. We will be with you every day that we can until you get back on your feet and start kicking ass again. You grabbed my hand today when I was holding it, so I knew you could hear me and feel me with you. Your nails still look so pretty. The kitties are good. Dad is doing his best to take care of them and hold it down. Tomorrow, Dad and Luba will come in the room to see you. I've been playing some music for you that you like. That song from Hook, Barbra Streisand, Beauty and the Beast, Tony Bennett, etc. Anything you might enjoy. I hope you're sleeping and having good dreams. I love you so much, always, always, always so much. I'm with you. This is the next day. I'm with you right now, holding your hand. It's Tuesday, March 23rd. Dad and I visited, and he came up here first. He said that he sang some songs to you. I hope he didn't give you nightmares. He thinks it'll help you hear him when you wake up. The doctors say you are getting better each day, and we are so encouraged and excited. Sammy had a potty accident this morning, so he must have had a bad tummy ache. Poor Sammy. Bella didn't care, but she wanted to go outside and sneak into the neighbor's yard. Luba has to work today, and so does Josh, but they want to come see you again soon. Dad and I will be with you in the morning tomorrow. The kitties are behaving for Dad. I'm going to help him give Jeter his pill when we get home because Jeter's been fighting him and spitting them out so much. So I'll help out tonight. All your girls are asking about you. Colleen is so sweet. I see why you guys can talk for 3 to 5 hours on the phone sometimes. And she's such a sweetheart, and she loves you so much. We all do. So much, Mom. I'm cooking tacos tonight for everyone. I wish you could come over for dinner. We're getting that big chair delivered to be next to the couch soon, so when you get back home, you can try out that spot. It'll be a good one, I think. I love you always, 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 and forever. Hi, Mom. Just leaving the hospital with Dad. Had a nice visit with you today. You squeezed my hand and even wiggled your left big toe for the nurse, and her name is Molly. Can you believe it? Must be a good sign. We're naming our daughter Molly Rose, by the way, so that's why. It's nice to hold your hand and talk to you. I miss hearing your voice and seeing your pretty eyes and your smile. I hope I can soon. I will come back tomorrow for you. I love you so much, always, always, and forever. I sent a video of Jeter doing nothing, which she would have loved. Let's see. Hi, Mom. Luba and I were going to head down to see you today, but they had scheduled for you an MRI around noon, so we couldn't. Instead, we cleaned around the dining room and kitchen for Dad, made some space and cleaned some yucky stuff, but we kept everything mail-related and all the papers and stuff. It'll be good for you guys. It's a lot of work. I'm going to Home Depot today, tomorrow, and trying to replace those lights above the sink, the fan, and the ceiling. The lights in the ceiling fan also stopped working, so the guy who put it in must have really sucked. We have to fix that up too. Luba and I are doing corned beef sandwiches tonight and having Dad over. I hope you're getting stronger, healthier. I feel bad for not being with you today. I like sitting by your side and holding your hand and talking to you. I like singing to you too. Some nice songs. Keep getting better, okay? I love you so much. See you soon. Hi, Mom. Dad and I visited you today. Luba drove us. You squeezed my hand and wiggled your feet. I sang lots of songs to you. You nodded your head yes that you liked it and you wanted me to keep singing to you. And that you'd like to feel Luba's tummy tomorrow, so she's coming with me in the morning. I was holding your hand the whole time. I love you so much. I hope you get better and better. Please come back to me. I need you, please. Do your best, okay, sweetie? I love you, always and forever. That will never change. Hi, Mom. Today, Luba and I visited you. You got to feel Luba's tummy and say hi to Molly Rose. You started opening your eyes and looking at us, so it was good to see those pretty green eyes. I didn't sing as much today, but stayed much longer just to talk and hold your hand. I still believe in you, and I think you can do this, little by little. I love you so much. Luba is making cheddar chicken with rice tonight. She loves your recipes. We all do. Your cooking is just the best. Dad and I will come in the morning. I hope you keep getting better and better. I love you so, so much, more than you maybe even know. Rest up tonight and get those powers back. Hi, sweetie. Luba and Dad and I came to see you today. All of us were able to be in the room at the same time, too. Finally, I held your hand and gave it lots of kisses. Canterman wanted to give you a kiss from him, so I did. Everyone's been asking about you. You are so loved. It really shows how wonderful you are that so many people care about you, wouldn't you say? I brought a few pictures from home and I showed them to you that you liked. One of all 5 of us, one of just Josh, Katie, and I as little kids, the one where she's covering her mouth and looking so cute, and a picture Beth Bussey had made for you holding Katie. She was just a little girl. You look so pretty in all the pictures. Dad and Luba and I are at the Palatine Inn for a late lunch. It's kind of our replacement for Market Square, but not as good. I think you would like it too. I'm coming back for you tomorrow morning. I will hold you and I will kiss you. I love you so much. I think about you all the time. I miss hearing your voice. We all do. You have the cutest voice, I think. I hope you sleep well and rest up tonight so tomorrow can be a good visit. I hope you know how much you mean to me. See you soon, Mom. Lots and lots of kisses and hugs. I love you always and forever. Zach. Hi, Mom. I hope you're sleeping. This is Tuesday night. This is the night before we knew. I hope you're sleeping and having some good dreams tonight. Josh, Dad, and I saw you today and did our own separate visits. They wouldn't let me up, but we made quite a scene and eventually I got to come up and be with you. It was nice to hold your hand and talk to you. I gave you lots of kisses today on your hands, arms, and forehead. We will come back tomorrow morning, okay? The kitties are missing you, but we are taking care of them. No one does it quite like you, but we can try. Anyway, I'm not sure what's for dinner tonight. Maybe pizza, who knows? Luba was with us all day, too. She loves you so much. Okay, sweetie, get some good rest and sweet dreams. I love you. This is the last text message I sent to my mom. Hi, Mom. Today was the last day we had to spend in that hospital. I know you were so looking forward to getting out of there, but this last visit was actually a pretty special one. Dad, Josh, Luba, Judy, and I all came to see you Wednesday morning. They let us all in the room, so that was nice. Dad spent some time with you first, and then I did as well before we all came in together. We finally got all those tubes and IVs and machines always beeping out and taken off of you so you can actually relax and be comfortable. We stayed and talked to you all afternoon, and when visiting hours were over, they transferred you to a more cozy room. And guess what? They let a guest stay overnight with you too. Dad had to go home and give Jeter his medicine and feed all the hungry kitties, so we got to have a sleepover. I pulled up a chair that reclines right next to your bed. So we could lay side by side and fall asleep together. I put a nice picture of your Katie Rose underneath your left hand, and I propped up some pillows so we could hold hands too. It was almost like all 3 of us were together again. You were a little more tired Wednesday, so we didn't stay up too late and got some rest. Thursday morning, everyone came back. We took turns 2 at a time spending time with you, and at the end of the day again, we got to have another sleepover. We talked about anything that came to mind, and sometimes nothing at all. Sometimes I would sing to you songs you like and some old lullabies that you sang to me as a little boy. That room got pretty dark at night, and we didn't bother to turn on TV. And for brief moments, I would feel scared, but the sound of you breathing and the touch of your hand on mine made me feel safe. Most of the time, I didn't feel like I was protecting you, but somehow still the other way around. Friday morning rolled around, and you seemed to be a little bit more tired. We still had our visitors, enjoyed the company, and when they had to go, we got to have another sleepover. But this would be our last sleepover, sweetie. Your breath's a bit softer, eyes closed shut. This night our hands would never be apart. I didn't sleep that well because I kept waking up in a panic to make sure I could still hear you. I asked the nurse for some more pillows and laid my head against your side, still holding your hand. I fell asleep long enough to even have a dream, and I dreamt of you. In this dream, I was sleeping right beside you in that very same room, and I woke up to check on you, but this time your eyes were wide open. You looked as pretty as I'd ever seen you. I said, Mom, you're awake. Your eyes are open. And you said, of course my eyes are open, and of course I'm awake. I started crying. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could help you. I wish I could save you. And you looked at me as calm as ever, and you said, oh, sweetie, don't be sad. I'm fine. I'll be just fine. I woke up. You were still there, but your eyes were not open. You were not awake. Just a few hours later, you took your last breath. And although you had left your body, I wrapped my arms around you one last time. This time not letting go. I cried on your shoulder, calling out for my mom. But you were not there. No more pain, no more heartache, no more worries. You could finally be with your little girl again. I asked you to please come see me in my dreams, and again, to tell me that you're okay. So I won't say goodbye. Instead, good night, sweetie. I love you, and sweet dreams.
Proverbs, we read that Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor who can find, she is more precious than rubies. Her husband sings her praises. Her children rise up and bless her. And so she is embraced and loved all the days of her life. There is a prayer that I will offer in just a moment that is for Nancy alone, that asks God to receive her with love and care and continued grace. You know that your pain from her loss will be mitigated each time you care for each other like she cared for you. Each time you are sweet and gentle with each other. Perhaps each time you buy things for each other because you just want to. And each time you put family first. So she still lives, not in the way you want her to, but in the only way that she can. You will never forget that she was never wrong because a mother knows best. You keep her in your heart. She is free from pain. And finally, whole and at peace. And so with this, we ask all who are able to rise. We ask God to receive Nancy with great tenderness and care, as she did for us. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanpei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Nancy Borenstein Shalcha Le'olama, Bahal Rachamim, Yastireha Beseter Kenefav Le'olamim, V'Ritzur Ritzur HaChayim, Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'Tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkava, V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Nancy, to Rosebud, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. We say together, Amen. You have the Mourner's Kaddish on your leaflet. It is a prayer we say at this time, but it also has nothing to do with death. Its words are of gratitude for the opportunity to have even but a moment with our beloved. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'bizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitparach v'ishtabach v'itpa'ar v'troman v'yitnaseh, v'itadar v'taleh v'talal shmei d'kudisha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn, send comfort to all who are bereaved. We say together, Amen.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the services here in the chapel. I would ask for those of you who are standing right now to please remain in place as we escort the family, the rabbi, and the casket from the chapel. Finally, just as a reminder, the family has requested that any memorial contributions in Nancy's memory to the American Cancer Society, and that information is available on the service folder or on our website as well. Thank you, and this again does conclude the services here at the chapel. Thank you, and you may return to your car.